right, welcome to the Thunder Road Show. I am your host, Doug Johnson, here at the Thunder Road Studio. Going to have a great show for you tonight. What's the matter?
Nothing.
When you do that, Steve, it makes me think that
I messed up on the camera switching a little bit. Don't worry about it.
Is it good? Are we good? So anyway, welcome to the Thunder Road Show. We are brought to you by Mosier Engineering, Da Vinci Performance Carburetors, and who else, Steve? Nitrous Outlet.
Nitrous Outlet.
So big things with Nitrous Outlet this weekend, this past weekend. Good friend of mine, J.D. Campbell, with the beautiful blue 68 Camaro, was at the Midwest Pro Mod race in Dallas, which we'll get into that a little bit. But Midwest Pro Mod race had X275 this year. J.D. Campbell goes up there and goes a 436 with a 2, 160 miles an hour, and resets the nitrous small block X275 record, which is pretty damn fast. Kenny Hubbard goes up there with his new LS Pro Charge combination in his Nova and goes a 435 with a 5. 435 with a 5. And but Shane Heckel ends up winning Midwest Pro Mods in X275. That was awesome. Y'all like and share this. But congratulations, J.D. Campbell. 23-degree head of small block, running 436, 160 with a plate kit. No fogger, one kit. Pretty amazing. So congratulations to him. Big shout out to a good friend of mine, Frankie Madman Taylor, goes up there with the older body on the car with a new wrap, has the old school face on it on the front, and he wins the Pro Mod race and ran a best of a 370, but he ends up winning it against Jeff Jones, the Frankenstein Engine Dynamics sponsored vehicle, and but he won it with this is the first time they had the sticker for representing his late nephew, Paul Jr., Paul Taylor's son, who was killed a year ago in an accident loading a car on his wrecker. And they were promoting the move over, slow down for when you see a wrecker. And so that's a big thing, guys. When you see somebody loading a car on a wrecker or flashing lights, move over and slow down. Paul was killed, and it wasn't, he was doing a favor. A drunk lady had hit the curb or something, and he was coming home from somewhere and was loading her car, and a guy not paying attention, looking at his phone early in the morning, swerved left because he was about to hit him, and when he did, he killed Paul Jr. And so, please make concessions for wrecker drivers. They can save your life, and we don't need to be taking theirs. But so a lot of big things going on. Bounty Hunter was last week. Bounty Hunter 4 was a huge success. Dwayne Mills comes down from Oklahoma, his first time with Daniel Ferris driving, and in the car they call Kong, which is the twin to the Golden Gorilla, his Radial versus the World car, and he goes some rounds and knocks some people out. Murder Nova was there. So one of the big, first big no preps of the season. Bounty Hunter is always a good race. And ended up the home wrecker crew, the Studebaker, come out and won their first race at a Bounty Hunter deal with, heavy hitters like Mike Murillo there, Swamp Thing, a lot of big names. The Ryan Martin from Outlaws No Prep Kings was there. Birdman was testing there and wrecked his car, but I heard he's going to have it fixed for this weekend because it's Street Kings at Houston Motorsports Park. We forgot to put in the title and the tags. TX 2K19 is upon us this weekend. It's going to be here in Houston. It's going to be the weekend of non-stop street racing. So if you don't have to get on the freeways and the byways of the Houston area this weekend, don't do it. Yeah, well, this is northern Mexico. No, southern Mexico, because Dallas is northern Mexico. Is that what it is? Yeah. So, so lots of stuff going on. Street Kings No Prep is at HMP on Saturday, which is always a good event. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately. We've announced the first two. This is the third one they've done. And then you also have all the stuff that goes on, the drag racing and roll racing and all that. That's TX2K 19 this year at Houston Raceway. So this is going to be it's a good weekend. TX2K got most famous, I think, when guys like 1320 Video and stuff came down and started videoing all the nonsense that was happening down here on that weekend, and we'll get into that. We have Tony Whatley in the house, the writer of this book here. Tony, welcome to the show, the Thunder Road Show. How you doing, my boy?
Doug, thanks for having me out here. Good to hang out with some car guys in a real car shop that I can tell some real work actually gets done in.
Right? I appreciate that. I was thinking to myself, man, this guy is doing interviews. He's met people like big name entrepreneur guys, Gary Vaynerchuk, I saw you had a picture with, and here you come to a shop with no AC. We got a fan over here blowing on you and a bunch of tools laying on the bench and just a dirty ass grimy shop, but here we are.
Man, it feels a lot like home. I've got a shop in my property and it's a working shop. Chuck's seen it before. I keep the garage clean, but the shop is just oil stained and tools and you go out there and do work.
Hey, it's therapy, isn't it?
Yeah.
For people that don't have their own projects, that can be as good a therapy as working out or going to, doing some exercise or something like that. It's great to be able to go out and build something and put something together with your hands. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get into that because you have a couple of projects, but one that recently, did you get the picture of the cover of the magazine, Steve?
With the Camaro?
Yeah.
I've got a picture of the Camaro.
Can you put it up?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me finish sharing this post. So what are you guys doing this weekend with TX2K? You're going to be here. Comment in the and share this, please. That helps the page grow. We're going to get in a little bit about page growth and stuff like that. Don Broach is watching. Scott Bass, Joey Tamborella. Surprised Joey's not talking shit yet. Chuck is watching, and he's here. He's in the studio audience. So Kristen Bumbera Gestures watching. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please like and share this. And look, there's the Camaro that is on the cover. Was on the cover last year of
Super Chevy, I think July 2018.
Very cool. And that is a car that you built. And I've heard the story, but let's tell the listeners what about this car. It's a beautiful LS7.
Yes, LS7. So
first gen Camaro, yeah.
There's a funny story about that car. I was actually an oil downturn 3 years ago, and I was laid off. I was working at Chevron and finished up the project, and I got laid off. And I remember that first month, I was stressing out, and I was spending way too much time on all these job sites looking for jobs and looking for handouts to find another job. Even though I had businesses on the side, I just kind of went in this panic mode, and it was really deconstructive. It really put me in a funk. I said, I need to get out and just do something more productive. So I said, I got a car that just got out of the paint shop. I've got a big old pile of boxes out there full of parts. I'm just going to go out there and build a car until I get a job. And I just focused on that, and I went out to the shop. It was my back of my property. 10, 12 hours a day I was out there working on that car. I was documenting everything. Did everything on that car but the body and the paint. So I assembled basically the entire car. And I even stitched the convertible roof and everything myself. I challenged myself on that one. And that was the first time I ever did it. And the very first time I actually drove that car, I built it in about 4 months, 4.5 months, start to finish. And the very first time I actually drove the car was to Baton Rouge.
Really?
Yeah.
You just hopped in and decided I'm going to go
Yeah, we're going
5
to
hours.
Power Tour, man. We finished the car at 3 a.m. the night before we were supposed to leave for Power Tour, which happened to be starting in Baton Rouge that year. And it got there, but the clutch was slipping because it wasn't set up on the distance properly.
Yeah.
So it's
dual disc clutch.
Yeah, it was a single disc, dual disc clutch. It was a dual disc clutch, but it wasn't set properly.
Oh yeah.
And I'd never driven the car, so above a certain torque limit, it would just start to slip. So I was able to get it there, and luckily I had my wife follow me to the event with the truck and the trailer just in case, because we didn't know if it was going to make it or not. So let's take a 5-hour first drive somewhere in the rain. Of course, it was raining, so kind of got the nickname Rainmaker with that car. For the first 5 major shows I showed up to in that car. It rained like crazy.
So you brought the bad luck.
That's it. So it became the Rainmaker, and even on the hashtag on Instagram, it's Rainmaker Camaro.
So did you watch videos online about converting a first gen to an LS1 from LS1tech.com?
No, actually, I actually had one of the very first LS1 swap 69 Camaros back in 2002, 2003.
Very cool.
Back when we had to build all these fixtures and modify things and jerry rig things to make it fit in there, and mock up and hack up the factory harnesses, because we didn't have the aftermarket back then.
Yeah.
So we were just having to make parts to make these things work. Hiding that big clunky computer and doing all kinds of things. And
will you turn off that big light for now? So it's kind of washing us out. No, the cord. Yeah. So I can relate to that because I started in the Mustang 5.0 scene in the late 80s when there wasn't a whole lot of options. I mean, you had GT40 heads and GT40 heads basically was the options.
Yeah.
And maybe then the J302 heads came out. This was before the aftermarket embraced the 5.0 Mustang really, and like you had hooker headers and stuff like that, and Holly intakes, because the 302's been around forever, but you just didn't have a lot of. So that was the late 80s, and my buddy Jason Holbeis and I built a Mustang, so I can relate to that. But okay, so you're co-founder of LS1 Tech, a forum, which if people don't know, if there's some people that probably don't even really know what a forum is because they grew up on social media only.
Man, you're making us feel old now. Wow. So we started LS1 Tech in 2001.
Okay, what was this, pre 9/11 or post 9/11?
Well, that was 2000. This was in November of 2001, so it was after.
It was right after, huh?
Right.
So what made you decide to start a forum? Go through the process of how that happened.
Well, it's really based on my competitive spirit and being told I can't do something.
Okay.
So we were actually all members of LS1.com, which was an existing forum that came out in 1997 when the engines came out in the C5 Corvette. And we were happy there. We were the drag racers. We were the ones modifying our car. There was about 6 of us in Houston that would go to the track 2 times a week, bracket night and street night, to try to make these cars faster. We didn't have a lot of modifications in 98.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with the 4th gen F bodies, the Camaros, the Firebirds. And we're doing free mods. We're porting throttle bodies. We're doing things with the intake manifold, screwing with the timing with little resistors and some wiring harnesses, and just trying to be creative to get every 10th out of these cars. And we were creating all this content. We were teaching people how to do modifications, how to do these free mods, how to do better at the track, how to, just learning how to drag race. And we're creating all these free articles and content for LS1.com. And basically the guy that owned that website was not paying his bills. So the server host would get deleted and we'd lose all of our content.
Oh, no way.
And so we're like, hey man, we'll let it slide. So it happened twice. It happened twice, and we were
rubbing on your collar.
He's over there scratching the paddles.
His knees are going back and forth. So yeah, right.
So basically, after it happened 3 times, we went to the guy that owned the site, and we're like, look, why don't you pay your bills? We see you have advertisers. We know that you can afford, we know what the money this thing kind of makes. And he threw attitude. Instead of taking that critical feedback from his most loyal customers, which we were, he said, if you guys think you can do a better job, you should start your own website.
Okay, challenge accepted.
So I was like, man, I don't know anything about starting a forum. And, my partner, John Ryan, up in Chicago, he's like, well, you can do graphic design. I mean, we built web pages and stuff like that. Let's just figure it out. We can figure this out.
Was this before WordPress?
Yeah, way before that. So, 2001, I had to HTML code everything, and I was doing all the graphic design. We did have Photoshop, so I didn't have to do everything with crappy software.
So it really, you can take an older guy who's in a trade and learn to code.
Yeah, but I guess I was 20 something back then, so I wasn't that old, But 20,
you know
29,
what I did that with the
29, I think it's 30, 29, 30. Yeah. So.
We talked about that last week, the learn to code.
Yeah.
You know what?
Oh yeah. I taught myself. I bought books and taught myself and practiced, and that became another spin-off side hustle from LS1 Tech. Was early 2000s, there was a lot of companies and manufacturers even that did not have website presence. So I'll trade you some car parts to build you a web page. And they were like, hey, that's a good idea. Build us a web page and we'll give you a few $1,000s in car parts. So I funded a lot of the car builds I had back then by just creating web pages.
Very cool.
Something I taught myself to do. And I've always looked for opportunities to teach myself new things or new knowledge that I can monetize and help other people with. And that's just the way I've always been, even since I was a kid.
Yeah, I watched one of your interviews. You were talking about selling candy as a kid, and,
Yep.
and that seems to be a common trait for successful entrepreneurs. They were always doing something, even as a kid. They had a sense of what money was.
How to multiply it,
Yeah,
more importantly.
and-
How do
and-
how do I take $5 and make it into $10? That was kind of the kid concept. So
And so my mind never worked like that as a kid. I guess some people just, I grew up just, hey, whatever I'm doing, not hey, I got $10, I need to make it 20. I was got, hey, $10, what am I gonna spend on the convenience store? You know?
for me, it was I wanted that $40 skateboard, and all I had was $5.
Oh, gotcha.
So I would say, well, how do I get to 40?
Very cool.
Go mow yards, go wash
Yeah.
cars, do whatever I can, flip blow pops, Jolly Ranchers, wacky packs. Remember those things?
Yeah.
The tops in the baseball cards. So I knew that a lot of kids at the school didn't live near a convenience store. I was one down the street from me, and I knew that their parents would never give them money for candy, but they would give them lunch money.
Oh.
So I was able to just go buy it. And after I'd been in there a dozen times, the clerk working at it, was a stop and go. He was like, man, you eat a lot of candy, but you're not getting any fatter. And I said, well, I'm actually selling it. And he's like, oh, you're an entrepreneur. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
Right.
And then he was actually cool. He gave me a discount. I'd buy the big box of blow pops instead of one at a time. And I go home and get the Ziploc bags like a crack dealer, and I just put 3 lollipops in there and have a bunch of those bags in my backpack, and sell those for $1 a bag. And the whole box only cost me like $6-7. So I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
was tripling my money.
Wow. That's cool. I remember there was kids in junior high that was their gig. They always had candy. And
That's it.
Yeah, you're
Some
always,
of them became drug dealers, though.
Yeah. Well, they were selling
Yeah.
the legal form of crack back then. Because sugar.
That's right.
But
It's the same business model. I hate to say,
yeah, right, right. So, but okay. So let's digress a little bit. You talk about this spirit and this go-getter. You put yourself through college and got your degree for engineering and got in the oil and gas, which you had mentioned earlier. But what did you do? What kind of job did you have to put yourself through school?
So my dad, after the military, he was the U.S. Marines, Vietnam. He got out and he worked in the chemical refineries we have in Deer Park and in South Houston. And he worked his way up through that his entire career. But when I turned 18, I was eligible to go work in those kind of situations. And he knew people, so he was like, go work at that place for a contractor. And I'd work 7 12s on a shutdown during the summer. And I was working as a pipe fitter helper. I'm grinding pipe out in the sun, or I'm digging ditches literally, or I'm doing some epoxy coatings on pipe, or I'm labeling pipe, or I'm hanging insulation. So I'm whatever I could. And I think they were paying me like $10, $15 an hour back then, which was good money when you're 18.
What, 80s?
Yeah, late 80s, early 90s. And the hours were good. So basically that summer, that 3 months of working those 7 12s, I could pay for an entire year of college from that amount. So I would do that during the summer. And during the school year, I would work in the restaurant. So I was a waiter. I was working at Olive Garden, and later I was working at a place called Bradley's. It's kind of like evolved into BJ's that you guys probably know right in this area. So I became a waiter, became the lead waiter, became the manager of the restaurant. I've always been, the type to just do more than average. I never wanted to be average. I always wanted to push myself to be the best in that situation, whether it was training people, being the manager, getting more authority. I love to get the authority roles. I love to take on more responsibility. And that's really why I started to create businesses when I got to the corporate world, is I was not getting those opportunities to be creative. I was not getting those opportunities to be a leader or take on more responsibilities. I got a whole lot of like, hey, you're too young, just wait your turn. And I'm like, man, I can run circles around you. Don't look at my age. Like, you don't know where I've been. You don't know what I've done. Like, so I wasn't getting that at work. So honestly, a 40-hour job felt like a part-time job after hustling so hard to get through college, going to school at night. I was like, I'm just going to start some businesses and just make some money and be creative and do that.
So what was your first side hustle? Because you wrote this book, Side Hustle Millionaire, and I can't wait to read it. I did some research. It was #1 bestseller on Amazon for how long?
For about 2.5 weeks.
And how much is it now on Amazon?
I think it's like $14.
Nice. I mean, it came out swinging and went.
Yeah, we went #1 in 9 hours.
Wow. I want to get into that later.
Yeah.
But so, what was the first side hustle?
I guess that would technically need me to have a job. I would say probably when I was waiting tables, I was doing car stereo installations and waxing cars, and it's not to the level people see nowadays. Like they're spending $900 to do a paint correction.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was just park under a shade tree, wash the car, and give it a good wax.
Yeah.
And I would charge like $50 back then, and that was good money.
Yeah.
So my side hustle was always something. I'm a car fanatic, so I was always gravitated.
Always a car guy?
Always a car guy, even as a kid, man. I as long as I can remember. I think some of us are just born that way. I don't think you evolve into that. I think you have a curiosity maybe, but at some point you just know that you are. I remember being a kid, probably 3 or 4 years old, and my mom waiting for, she's cooking dinner. I'm sitting at the kitchen table. She'd buy me coloring books, and I would just draw cars in all the empty spaces of the cover and all the blank. And she's looking at it, she's like, why am I buying you coloring books when all you do is draw cars? So they just started giving me blank sheets of paper. And my dad would come home from the chemical plants with these bags of washers, so nut and bolt washers, all the different sizes and shapes. And I would use those to trace my wheels and tires so I could draw the cars better.
Cool.
So I had like a box of washers that was just like my wheel collection. So it kind of led to the wheel business that I own today. Deviate Motoring is an online wheel retail. So I think I've always loved wheels, and I've always loved cars even since before school.
Hot Wheels guy?
Oh yeah.
Smokey and the Bandit?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard?
I watched that, but I think it was near the end of my TV type thing. I think Smokey and the Bandit and Chips and Knight Rider, those the things. I think Dukes of Hazzard. I think I watched maybe 2 seasons, and I was kind of outgrowing it.
I never will forget. I'm 46.
Same age.
Okay, so my mom was single. We had a little small townhome in A-Leaf, and we're flipping on a Friday night, and I flipped to 13, I think, or whatever channel it was, 11 or 13, whatever it was on, and saw the car going sideways with a rooster tail behind it in the dirt, and was like, what the hell is this? I was thinking we were waiting on Dallas to come on, believe it or not, and hit that, and then Dallas came on after that, and that became my life.
I think as a kid, Speed Racer had my heart.
Oh,
I couldn't wait to get home from grade school and watch Speed Racer.
I just could not do the voice.
Oh
yeah, I liked watching it, but I wasn't into cartoons.
Yeah, the monkey was very annoying. I think even as a kid, I wanted to choke that monkey.
Yeah.
Spritle, was it Chim Chim and Spritle? Chim Chim, yeah. Chim Chim was
There's
super
a Spank
annoying.
the Monkey joke in there, but I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah, that's stuff. And I think the only reason I really watched Dukes of Hazzard was for Daisy Duke.
Oh yeah.
I think that was about that age when Daisy Duke was more interesting than the car.
My grandfather had bought us a go-kart, and so doing fishtails and shit like that was, and spraying rooster tails, that was a big fascination.
I never liked the push guard on the front of the General Lee. I thought that was stupid even as a kid.
Yeah.
I was like, that is so stupid. That only belongs on the Fall Guys truck.
Yeah, right? Yeah. That didn't make a lot of sense, but I guess if you're from Georgia or whatever, Hazard
pushing
County,
cows out of the road.
Yeah. I guess it does make sense if there's a lot of cattle and it's a better bumper.
Yeah.
But I was always intrigued by, sometimes the door would open, sometimes they would climb in without, they would slide in or something, I would watch those little intricacies. So anyway, going back to engineering, then what'd you start doing when you're making a good living?
I guess I was still working on cars. I mean, I was helping out at MTI. We talked about that on the weekends, and helping them with sales and doing some online. I actually built their first web page and their second web page.
Coup?
No.
Or, so Jeff Mandry and I worked together at Texas Turbo, and then at MTI, and I tell you, they were definitely pioneers in the LS1. They started in the LT1 industry, and I remember working at Texas Turbo. They were the guys that came in and started doing the Camaros in '93, and Jason had worked at Tommy Vaughn Ford before that, and had a car that was on the advertisements in the magazines that had the Mustang that said Motorsports on the bottom, and so he kind of left we're such tribal people, and my team's better than your team, and then here comes this Camaro that was instantly quicker than the 5.0 Mustang.
Oh yeah. I actually had a '96 Mustang GT
Oh God.
back when the LS1 came out, and I was saving up for a Vortex supercharger, and then the magazine started coming out, and these LS1s were running faster than the supercharged Mustang stock.
Oh yeah.
I said, that's some bullshit. That's not real. That's
true.
magazine racing. And then, sure as shit, the cars were running exactly like they said in person. And the deposit that I was saving up for that Mustang modification fund became a down payment for an LS1 Formula. So I actually drove to Dallas and bought that and drove it home.
WS6 car?
No, it was just a 6-speed Formula, navy blue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did do you remember Mike Pabone?
Yep.
Yeah, still good friends with him. His car did some pretty amazing things back in there. I had wired a car for Brian Phillips. Remember that black '66 Chevelle? And there's still a video that floats around of them racing at Houston with Sean Saunders driving. So lots of 6 degrees of separation there. But so y'all created the LS1 Tech platform, which became the go-to place with 150,000 active members at one time.
Yeah.
I mean, were y'all instantly selling advertising, or was it just, let's just start a forum and it, because the guy said, hey, go do it yourself if you can do it better?
So this kind of goes back to the things I actually still teach people when they're starting a business or they want an idea to start a business. I think you have a real strong purpose of why you start a business. A lot of people focus on money, and that's not strong enough purpose, because when things get tough or they're challenging, money's not a good purpose to keep going. You're going to quit. Most people just go, this ain't worth it.
When life gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So LS1 Tech, we never thought it was going to grow that big. We just wanted to build a cool place where they paid their bills so that would be hosted, where our car guys can hang out and have fun online. That was that was the sole purpose. And John had a new Camaro SS. I had the Formula. Our car notes were about $500 a month back then. So if this website could pay for our car notes and some drag racing, maybe some parts, that would be awesome. So it wasn't like really big thinking. Like, what is that, 2,000 tops?
Yeah.
If it makes $2,000 a month, that's a lot of money. But it wasn't about the money. We always made sure that we took care of our vendors. We took care of the free users, because they were both customers, just two different types of customers. We always made sure the server was updated, the securities were in place. We did the backups on the files, so if things did go wrong, we wouldn't lose any data. Just did everything right. We just ran it like a business, because we both had full-time jobs. We didn't need the money from that, so we were able to roll the money back into it, keep it growing, and just it became the community. The community is what grew that website. It wasn't us. We initially got the sponsors by doing a lot of cold calling. We didn't have social media. We didn't have targeted ads. We didn't have this. We basically bought car magazines, flipped pages till we saw an ad, saw a phone number, a website, just called them. Hey, we're trying to start up this GM website. Would you guys be interested in advertising on it? And John and I would just basically divide and conquer. We'd call like 10 people a night each, and then regroup the next day and see who was interested and do follow-ups. And so we had to hustle.
Email lists and all that?
Yeah, building the email list, because the registration's where we get the email list, obviously. So, a lot of times you hear, we had 160,000 registered members when we sold the site in 2007. Now it's over 300,000. The site's still around. But a lot of people nowadays hear that number, like 160,000, and it's like an impressive following on social media. It sounds like a good following number, like 100,000. But it's way better than a following, because we had their contact information.
Oh, yeah.
Like followers, you don't have their contact information. A lot of those are fake anyway. So we could actually send out emails and email people and things and contests and giveaways and events and sponsor, selling parts. Like, we got this new part we unveiled. Like, check this out. We had that power.
And I think that y'all were in the prime of using email. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about his email list back when he was building Wine Library.
Everybody looked at their email.
Yeah, and that's funny, because he does talk a lot about that. Everybody opened all their emails because they felt like it was actual letters that they were receiving from somebody.
Man, Tony really cares about me. Look, he sent me another email. Yeah. No one else loves me but Tony.
Yeah, I mean, you weren't getting inundated with junk emails back then. No. So, I think people have all kind of gotten, I don't know, hardened to the email push. So,
I think I've got like 30,000 unread ones. I looked.
Yeah. If you get a Gmail account, that's what it's best for.
Yeah, it's a spam dump file.
Yeah.
You have to weed through the spam to find the actual emails.
And, I know.
And it's easy to miss them nowadays.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, sometimes the people have to come back and bump it twice and, hey, are you going to respond? Oh, there it is.
So, y'all sold it right before the social media explosion, right?
Well, right before the economy took a dump in 2008.
And this was before the .com bust, right?
No, I think the dot-com bust came a few years after that.
Yeah. So you sold before the
Before that, yeah.
And people were getting. That's when Mark Cuban made his millions.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
How did the sale of this happen? How did they just approached you? This Canadian company approached you?
Well, we'd always had people just casually come across us in the years that we owned it, asking, "Hey, would you guys be interested in selling your website?" You know, and they don't have any idea what kind of money it was bringing in. I mean, we were making about $400,000 a year profit as a side hustle.
And y'all were splitting that?
Yeah, we're splitting that. And it was taking about 30 minutes a day. So that kind of removes the whole like trading hours for dollars. We could talk about that, the mindsets behind that, but.
So, like Chuck was a moderator on West Side Mustangs, right? Weren't you? Did y'all have a bunch of free moderators that would do the work for you?
We had 70 people.
Wow.
But we always took care of them because we changed their name, their colors, and we allowed them to pimp themselves out to the sponsors so they could collaborate on doing some race car projects with our staff. So the ones that were savvy enough and could, have the chops and, were ethical, they would be our staff. They would go contact these sponsors and go, "Hey, I want to do a how-to article on this part and I need one." They would get the free part, they write the article, we get the content, the users get to enjoy that content, they go get the race, the manufacturer gets the benefit of that. So it was like a very good triple win-win-win.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of those things going on, and we were okay with that. Like,
did y'all realize that this could work like that immediately?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That was a great way to entice people. Hey, because we always see the people that were very active on the site anyways. And like, "Hey man, you're sharing a lot of information. We can tell you're a helpful person. Why don't you just be on our staff and then you can get free parts or discounted parts on top of that?" And they're like, "Oh, hell yeah.
And,
like, I'm already here."
And you get to kick the trolls off, so
that's it.
You get some power.
Yeah, it was a great community, and and it spread, and we were very big on building community. We started the LSX drag racing series. That stuff that's still going on, the GM sponsors.
Yeah.
We actually started that, and we had 4 events around the country because we knew we could go build the community at each of these major hubs, and then those communities would become like a net, like a web, basically, to all connect. And it was a good way for us to get out there and meet the people that are supporting the website. I think that's very important. So all the major races that had LS events, or even SEMA, I made sure that I went to every one of those to make sure that I had, eye-to-eye, face-to-face communication with the people who are paying the bills there, and that's important.
And the cool thing, GM was very receptive to y'all, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, y'all, I don't know that enough credit is given to that forum for making the LS the new small block Chevy that everybody puts in everything.
That's right. Yeah, we were the first one to do the hybrid and swap forum.
Yeah.
When that started to become kind of a buzz, like, "Hey, what can we put these in?"
I got,
nobody even had done it yet.
Yeah, and everybody was putting 350 Chevys in everything.
Yeah. Well, and even 5.0 Mustang, those engines were in everything.
Yeah. Broncos and
nobody liked the LT1s. I'm sorry.
Well, the OptiSpark would die and you're screwed. So
Yeah.
who wants an engine that may be okay designed, but then one electric part is going to leave you stranded? If you get in high water, you're screwed.
And the mod motor wouldn't fit in anything because it's too big.
Yeah, and I ran mod motor when they were allowing Fox bodies to have them, and actually made it to the semifinals in Dallas in 2001, and that was shortly before they went and said, okay, you got to have a generation that the mod motor came in.
Yeah.
Because the Fox bodies didn't look good to Ford putting all this money in to have Fox bodies whipping everybody's ass.
That's right. That's right.
So
yeah, GM loved us. GM, I actually wrote when the LS3 came out, I actually wrote the articles for them for the magazine release.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, because I even used LS1 Tech as recently as 6 years ago on what parts to buy. I mean, I got a conversion sitting right here. I don't even know if you had a chance to realize.
Was that a 51?
49.
49.
Yeah, 49 Chevy. It's got a 6-liter in it that was freshened up and
cool.
mild cam, and it's going to be a cruiser for the guy. And doing some cool stuff to it. I'll show you after the show. But It's just crazy. It's almost become to where now it's a meme and you're criticized for having an LS.
LS swapped the world, man.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And I kind of laugh about it. I've caused many thousands of men to spend thousands and thousands of their dollars.
Oh yeah.
I've cost people a fortune.
You've cost people their
marriage,
their marriages,
their houses,
but there's
their
also
their kids' college funds.
But then you've
I'm a
got
bad guy.
No, because then you've got guys like Beater Bomb, who put one in a beater coupe and got famous on Social 1320 video out of Kansas, and now he's a hardcore street racer that has a brand and has built a brand around this car that he's built, and goes out and kicks ass, and that's happened time and time again. I mean, think about the Willis Jeep.
Yep.
How famous
and all the fake ones that came out to try to copy it.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of. I mean, there's some things that really move the needle in the performance industry, and the LS swap and the LS engine. And you know what's funny is the people that say, "Oh, that's just a Ford design" and stuff like that, but you can't take away of how they're in everything now. They're in all the trucks, vans. You know, there's such a large age range of vehicles that you could still find an LS1 to put, or an LS something to put in a project car, and they make such great, dependable, high horsepower power plants that it's undeniable. And you know, it made Ford step up their game tremendously.
Yeah, back in that era, you know, for the people that are just new to LS1s or maybe just picked up their later LS1s, like fifth owner type, you know, owners, back then Ford was not really, you know, they had bolt-on crap for their fans, but their engines, the problem with the overhead cam, we love those now. The Coyote's a great engine.
Oh yeah.
But the problem back then is they developed this overhead cam platform that didn't rev.
Yes.
Like it didn't go to 10,000. Like it would have been so much cooler if it revved at like 9,000 or 10,000, but here it is putting around at 6,000, which pushrod LS1 was doing.
Yeah.
So unless you're having the stability of that valve train to be able to rev, like why the hell do you do this? Now you got this behemoth mod motor that doesn't fit between the shock towers.
Yeah.
It's heavy. Its center of gravity is heavy because all the weight's above the center line, so it's not a good for handling engine. And you know, just the aftermarket just never really adopted it. They were just trying to force as much boost in those as possible.
Yeah.
Because they didn't rev. It's like that's just shitty design and now they fixed all that. But you know, like we had LS7s, you know, 7,000 RPM from the factory. It's a 427 cubic inch that revs to 7,000.
And it had torque.
With push rods.
Yes.
Like, so don't sell me overhead cams until you can rev to 8, 9, 10,000.
Exactly. So you get to hobnob with a lot of entrepreneurs, famous people, do red carpet stuff. And I heard an interview with you. Coming from the car industry and now having a bestseller book and being kind of a coach, right? It's a little bit weird to some people don't get it, do they?
No, man. I got some haters out there.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Because they say...
Oh, especially some car guys that I knew that I actually thought were friends, yeah.
Okay, I can understand. I mean, I don't understand anybody that's hating on somebody else, but car guys just get jealous. They're A-type personalities a lot of times, and but when you go to meet a Tony Robbins type, I mean, I'm sure they respect that, hey, you came from somewhere, but they just don't get why people would do what we do and all the hard work and the busted knuckles and the time away from the families. And Chuck is a contributor on our page, which we're trying to grow organically. And in this day and age, it's really hard to grow a Facebook page organically.
Yes.
And we'll get into that in a minute. But he brought up the point before the show started, before you got here, that he made a post on the Thunder Roadshow page that was just it was a meme, but it was a white screen, and it said,
where did all my money go?
Where did all my money go?
I either ate it or I'm driving it.
I either ate it or I'm driving it. And that got 1.5 million in reach. For a page with 6,000 fans following it, which y'all need to like and share this. Please, it helps us It helps us grow. JD Campbell just joined, and we just mentioned his badass little small block world record holder. Which JD Campbell owns a shop in Arlington, and he makes a living working on LSs and doing LS swaps out of Arlington. So it's called Pro One Auto Sports. Guys are making a living because of what you guys started back then. But so anyway, we had this meme that had all this reach, and we only got a couple of hundred followers from it. But it's totally against what you preach in your book of being broke because you spent all your money on your race car. But you've lived that, right? I mean, where you've been more focused on your passion than supporting yourself, I think.
I think a lot of car guys fall into the trap, and I would say the majority of guys that race cars fall into this trap, where they set specific cars as a financial goal. So like let's use Lamborghinis for example. Like, oh, I want to go buy a used Gallardo. It's $100,000. What do I need to do to make $100,000? That's the wrong mindset. Go figure out how to make $1 million, and then buy your $100,000 Lamborghini. Yeah. Most people set their goals too damn low, and that's why they end up with less than they actually. You know, how many people have to run around wishing they had some, 7-second Mustang? And that's $200,000 build itself, right? Yeah. But they set that as their goal, rather than having a bigger goal that they can afford that now. And then they never hit that goal because they're not putting in the work. They're not doing the action to get to that actual goal.
So how did you balance I want to play with my car, but I need to make extra money to support my family or to have extra side money or whatever. How do you balance that when it's easy for a guy like myself and you to get just wrapped up in working on the car every night? How do you balance that when you got to build a brand or start a side job or whatever?
I don't believe in balance, man. I think this whole work-life balance thing is a fallacy. I think you're always going to be taking from one bucket. Let's just say you have a bunch of buckets with family and work and hobbies and things that you're developing and your fitness. So all these are buckets, and you only got a certain amount of time per day to do those things. So you try to find ways to multiply the output on some of these things to get more time back. So, you and I are both 46. We're trying to figure out how to get more time back. The money's easy to find. We can find money. We can work our asses off, just trade more hours for dollars, do more jobs, take on bigger projects, find advertisers, find sponsors. Making money's not the problem, but getting your time back is the real challenge. So you start to figure out how to automate systems, how to get time back. There's no reason that most people think that you got to trade your hours for dollars. There's someone out there that's turning wrenches right now, making $20 an hour. And they're like, man, I wish someday I could be the lead tech and make $27 an hour, and that's like their goal. That's a really low goal, guys. Like, the potential is so much bigger than that. You got mechanic shops and owners out there, booking out cars $95 an hour, and they're saying, hey, if I got 3 techs, I can make $15 a head off of those guys consistently. But again, they're still in this business model, employee mindset, trading your time for physical dollars. Now, what happens is you start to think about the online business and scaling out to the world and making money while you're sleeping. That's where the real power. We're carrying around these things in our pockets nowadays that can connect to everybody in the world. I'm selling wheels to people in the Middle East and Asia, Australia. I sold $800,000 in wheels last year, working 15 minutes a day.
Oh my God! Did you have to buy in?
Yeah.
Okay, so you had to buy in to get the
one at a time until you get about 2 buy-ins, and you buy in the big names like the HREs and the Forge lines. And then you start to do some business, and they say, okay, you're stable. Now the other brands want you to sell their brand because they see you're helping those guys. Yeah. See, so it's a lot easier once you get your foot in the door.
So a lot of the guys that watch this show that are car people, drag racers. We typically cover drag racing, but we've delved into other stuff, stand-up comedy to entrepreneurship, brand building, all that kind of stuff, especially as when we used to be on High Tech Corvette and now we're on just the Thunder Roadshow page. And so just doing these long form interviews instead of just recapping the race season because we were between seasons. But a lot of these guys are business owners. And we've talked about this with Kendall Bombera and I see so many business owners that are not using social media at all for their businesses, and it's almost a crime when you hear guys like Gary Vee talk about how it's the most underpriced right now. And
Right
it's
now.
not going to be long that it's going to be too expensive to advertise on social media. But you don't even have to advertise sometimes. Just having, like I've heard you talk about, video content is free to do. You just got to take your phone and video or go live or document what you're doing, document your reality. And how important do you see that in this day and age of 2019?
Well, let's give an example for car guys. We're sitting in a shop and there's toolboxes and you got a project car sitting here and I see your toolbox sitting there. What if there was this magical tool in one of those drawers that you could go open that drawer and just wave it over that car and it would be done?
It'd be wonderful.
You'd be like, holy crap, but this tool is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's what this is. And people are not using it. It's a free tool to do the best marketing in the world. Live videos, recorded. If I owned a shop, it would be like its own mini series. I'd hire some kid, probably an intern or a high school kid, paying them really low, whatever they want to be, to follow guys around, just video things, and then go sit his ass into an office and cut videos for 2 or 3 hours a day and make a video every day.
Okay.
And I would let everybody know who my characters are, the mechanics. And if the guys weren't willing to play with the game, I'd be like, you're not a part of this show then. We're going to find somebody else. Like, I don't care how good you are, because the marketing, building that personal brand where you're starting to show up on the feed of thousands of people and they're sharing things and commenting it, and you have an online business that you can send them to, like, all your business doesn't have to be just, people showing up to your shop to get things worked on. Like I said, I got customers all over the world. That's the capability of that phone that's in your device. So that's the tool in your toolbox that's the best marketing in the world, and it's free, and so many people are not using it. Most people are not using it. It's free.
So the key, though, is to have something that you can sell online in a side hustle or something, right?
Yeah.
Because if your business is installing gates and fences,
You're limited to a zip. I call those zip code businesses.
yeah,
Yeah, certain businesses will never be able to scale online, and that's just the unfortunate business idea that they chose. I mean, when I help people start out businesses, we assess all these things. Like, do you want to be locked into a location? Do you want to show up where there's hours on the front door, or do you want to be able to work anywhere in the world whenever you want? Just being able to be independent of time and location are powerful.
yeah, for sure. I mean, I've thought about that a lot in where I'm at in my life right now, and you definitely need to have, if you're going to start something, it is risky to start something that is where you have to drive through traffic every day.
Oh, yeah.
Or especially in this town.
And then you don't get the time back again. I mean, if you spend 2 hours a day driving, that's 10 hours a week. You're sitting there behind a steering wheel driving to work, just doing nothing.
Yeah.
40 hours a month.
Or trying to do a deal on the phone and crashing.
Imagine 40 hours a month you're driving, especially in Houston. I used to drive an hour one way. You're spending 40 hours, basically a work week, driving to work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's definitely a waste of time. So, what was the okay, obviously doing what you did, y'all sold LS1 Tech for a lot of money.
Yep.
Did pretty well. Do you think that the page did better after y'all sold it, or?
I think it still did the traffic. They were making them, that website of that size was making over 200,000 a year just in Google ads. So they didn't even need the paid advertisers. So the paid advertisers become gravy at that point. And there's, like I said, it's only scaled. There's 300,000 members since we've sold it there. It's still there. So I think even now on the size with that side and the activity, because it's still a reference. I mean, the social part has gone to Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
But all the technical is still on forums. If you need the information or you're wanting to share information, you go to a forum and you still create those posts because you want to find those later. You try that on Facebook, it just disappears and you never find it again.
Yeah,
it's just a waste.
There's just too much content
there.
there.
So Facebook's a terrible platform for archiving information or searching for information, and the forums are always going to be better for that. So, I think they're still making profit for sure. I think it's probably the same. It's probably a plateau. I don't think it's gone up.
Yeah, gotcha. So, what made you decide to write a book, and how hard was it to actually sit down and, who am I to write a book type of thing?
It kind of goes back to something you mentioned a few minutes back about how a lot of people have created companies around my LS1 Tech website. Some of those have grown to 7- and 8-figure companies. I think some of them are on the verge of 9-figure companies. and they started out as moderators on our website, working out of their garage. And they taught the business principles. They understand the business and the marketing. They know just how to do things like a business person. They had, the right training and the right mentors. And I've helped a lot of these people for the last 15 years to scale their companies out just because they're friends.
Yeah.
Just my inner circle. That's the benefits of knowing people, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, man, Tony, you have a knack for this. You really enjoy helping people. And that's two things I love: cars and business. I can talk about cars all day, and I can talk about business all day. I love fitness. I go to the gym 5 days a week, but I can't talk about fitness all day. I don't have that same level of passion for that subject. Being good at something doesn't mean you're passionate in that subject. So find what you're passionate about and you can talk about all day and you're excited about all day. That's kind of an indicator of what business you should be in. I was helping these people build companies, and they're like, man, you should be doing this full time. I was like, well, I got this corporate career. I was doing really well, multiple six-figure base on that job. I had businesses on the side still bringing in six figures. I was like, I'm busy, man. I got all these things going on. I don't really want to. I don't have to do that. But it kind of came down to it. It's like, the oil downturn was coming. I got tired of my career and my livelihood being somebody else's decision. And
especially
I
when
hated
politics
that.
come into play.
Dude, I hate that. I hated that since I was expensive because I'd worked my way to get to that level that I was the first one to get cut as well.
Yeah.
Because every time there's a downturn, it's a financial thing. It ain't personal. They could love you to death, but you got too many zeros in your paycheck, like you're first one out, because they will take this person with half your experience, sit their ass in your seat, and pay them half until the upturn comes back around, and then they're scrambling on the phones trying to call guys like me to come back for them. And I've gone through that 3 times in this oil industry and here in Houston, and the higher you get to that level, the worse that you can find jobs. There's fewer jobs. I said, you know what? I'm in my 40s. Every time I get laid off, I'm out of work for 6 to 8 months, realistically.
Yeah.
It's like, this is bullshit. It's like, I'm not going to let this happen anymore. So now I'm going to go all in and teach people how to create businesses and how to do what I did. And, and I've started doing that. And I wasn't getting the traction. It's like, okay, I've got this book in my head that I want to help people out. And what, Side Hustle Millionaire is really just helping people take their idea for their businesses and weigh them against their different ideas. I want people to come to the table. Like, don't buy this book thinking that there's ideas in here for you. Like, you have to bring your own ideas to the table, but it's going to teach you how to weigh those against each other and find out the ones that's going to get you to the best financial goals that you have. So if you want to make $100,000 a year, we can do that. If you want to make $1 million a year, we can work backwards from those goals and really start to assess the business ideas you have. And I provide some math formulas, real simple stuff. And you have to be honest. Like, a lot of times you come to me and you go, hey, Tony, I want to build this business. Let's say I want to build this widget. I want to build a shot glass dragster.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how long does that take you every day? Well, when I get home, I can build one of these in 3 hours. Like, what do you sell that for? I could probably get $30 for it. It's like, so you just wasted 3 hours of your time to make $30, so $10 an hour. And I was like, how many of those can you make every day? Like, oh, maybe one. I was like, well, how does that scale? So now you start to see the light bulb come on. Like, this isn't ever going to make me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to be strong enough to walk away from some of these dreams you have, because they're not going to get to the goals. If you waste a year going down the wrong path, chasing a goal that's not going to get you to your goal, like, you really wasted double that time, because you could have been putting that time towards the right idea that has a better opportunity to get you to that goal. So I'm very goal driven, working backwards from those goals and being honest and just going, hey man, that's not going to get you there. And if you want it to get you there, you're going to have to find somebody that's going to make those for $1 a piece. And it's possible, but do you have the money to go find that manufacturer to do that? No. Well, then maybe we need to start another company so you can have that money, so you can go find that manufacturer. So I look at businesses a lot like staircase.
Okay.
I call that in my business. Sometimes the business that you own or you're working at right now is just the first business. And you use that to build and hopefully create some valuation that you can maybe sell, or come up with a unique product or service that can scale really big and sell that. And then maybe you have that next big business that you're dreaming about. A lot of times people come to me like, hey, man, I want to own a Lamborghini dealership. And like, well, do you have, 150 million in the bank? They're like, no. And then a lot of times they're like, well, I just want to quit then, because I can't have my dream business. It's like, well, entrepreneurs we're wired a little bit differently. Like, I don't have 150 million yet, but how can I get there?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I start this business, sell it for $1 million. Maybe I build the next one, sell it for 10 million. Maybe I build the next one from that and I sell it for 50 million. You see how this goes? We start to look at the staircase effect to get to the goal. Most people just shut their minds off when they can't get that goal, that they have that dream that they have.
Well, I think too is sometimes you put all your eggs in this idea that you think's unique and different, and then sometimes Tim is good at that with me about playing devil's advocate or whatever. Or is this really, I'm great at coming up with ideas. The follow through is where I struggle. Just being honest,
Yeah.
And so, I get all excited about an idea, and then if there's not a real clear path to follow through, then I'll find something else. Think of something else.
Yeah, I mean that's the it's really ourselves in our mind that keeps us from doing the things that we want to do. A lot of times we say that we're worried about failure a lot of times, but that's not true. What we're really worried about is what other people will say about our failure.
Yeah.
So that's being honest. Like that's the next level down from that excuse.
So you mentioned haters earlier, and that kind of leads into that. And I one of the things that I like about Gary Vee is talking about how screw what people think. And quit worrying about it, because a lot of times so much of the stuff we do is so people will see what we're doing. And it's funny, there's people out there that and he's even talking about it, if you're having problems with your wife at home and your kids are seeing these arguments, and then you go to Disneyland and you post like everything's wonderful, that's kind of the world we live in with social media today. Is
the highlight reels.
Yeah, and I think I think that's one of the things that people are getting tired with reality shows so much, is the manufactured drama and all that stuff. And so when you see a show where it's just people's reality, real life, and they're real, and people are owning up and live, some of the most best feedback I've gotten is when I've gotten real on the show and talked about stuff that I've really gone through, like breaking my foot in a car accident, or just dealing with depression, after not being physically capable of doing what I used to could do, and so I think that's Wayne Atterbury says I always worry what others think, and that's a good friend of ours from Australia, and he's a good dude. He doesn't really need to worry about what other people think, but that's a hard thing to change in your mind, to say, I'm going to do me, screw you.
What did you say his name was? Wade? Wayne.
Yeah.
Hey, Wayne, I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm looking at the camera for this one. These haters, these naysayers, they're not going to be at your funeral, so don't let them run your damn life.
Nice. That's strong, man. So it is becoming kind of cool now to become an entrepreneur. When you see that a 7-year-old was the highest earner on YouTube recently, and all he did was open up toys. He's got toy lines at Walmart now after him, because his family.
Because he did the stuff we did as kids, just being destructive.
And he had, he did.
Opening up toys and hitting stuff with hammers and
being silly, and but his parents videoed that, and so now I think that's a problem though. Kids don't want to learn a trade because they think the easy money is taking their phone and becoming a YouTube star.
That's actually a very common answer now, especially in the younger kids, is they want to be a YouTube star.
Yeah, I remember our generation was fireman, policeman, or astronaut, or.
I guess I could compare it to if we were kids and we said we wanted to be a movie star, because that's their movie. You know what I mean? They're walking around looking at YouTube. We were watching movies, or like you said, Smoking the Bandit.
Yeah.
Like we all want to be Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
So I could kind of see the analogy there. So maybe we shouldn't be so hard on them.
I agree. But get back to that. It is becoming cooler to become, say, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
A few years ago, entrepreneur meant loser, that you didn't have a real job, or you couldn't keep a real job, and you're just trying to find. You're saying that because you're trying this and trying this and trying this, throwing shit at the wall, see what sticks.
I don't even like the word entrepreneur just because it's French and it just sounds weird.
Yeah.
And like it's hard to pronounce. You have to practice it a bunch of times until you say it correctly. And you start to think about, is there an alternative word for this word? And there's really not. I've tried to find. Business owner just doesn't sound the same appeal.
No,
we need like a cool word for entrepreneur, like American.
Yes, for sure. I 100% agree. Somebody come up with that in the post. Big shout out to Bob Galletti on his runner-up final this weekend at Midwest Pro 1. We wanted to say that because he's watching. But so there's a lot of, when you start looking up entrepreneur stuff, and the algorithms now change your feed, and the pre-roll intros on YouTube are all guys selling their way to make millions of dollars for $1,000 bucks. What's your thoughts on that?
I think they're doing social media wrong. I mean, they're obviously making some kind of money, but the thing is people like to do business with who they recognize, they like, and they trust.
Yeah.
And if you're always just pushing product or service whenever you're firing up the video camera, people are getting tired of your shit.
Yeah.
They don't like you. They're not going to say that to you, but that's what they're thinking. Like, man, there's this guy always pitching to me again. Like, it's annoying. It's just annoying.
It's like that. My dad, my biological father, was into multi-levels because it was easy, cheap to get in, and he was good at bullshitting and talking. I don't know where I get that from, but you know, and it was always okay. Here comes that guy that's got another multi-level he wants me to get into. Have you met those people?
Oh, absolutely.
And so there's nothing wrong. I mean, Keith with Bona is in ID Life, which is a great product, a great plan. But those guys that bounce from one to one to one, you know,
they got a different business card every week.
Yeah. It can be like that when you're always pitching stuff on social media.
Yeah, man, there's unfortunately a large segment of this population that still thinks there's a get-rich-quick thing, especially nowadays, actually, because we talk about how you can build online businesses to really make money. Well, they think that now that get-rich-quick stuff is actually get-rich-quicker.
Yeah.
You know, but they're not really thinking about the hard work that goes in. So even an online business, which is what I prefer to teach people how to build, there's still a lot of work involved. I mean, you're going to put in probably that first year and a half just to get traction, just to build that brand. And you're going to feel like nobody's listening to you, nobody's paying attention. Why am I doing this? You know, I'm not getting the traction. You have all these excuses, but here's the thing that we talked about earlier. If your passion is not strong enough, or your purpose is not strong enough, you're going to quit. You're going to be like the 80% of the people that quit in that first year. But if you have a strong enough conviction or passion or reason why you're doing what you're doing, you're going to be talking to that empty room, and you're going to be like, I still believe in this. You're going to see like nobody's liking your post. You're going to be like, I still believe in this.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going to push through that 6 months. And I've seen it. If you can make it 6 months consistently, showing up every damn day, 6 to 12 months is what I've seen. If you could get past that no man's land, that's when people start applauding you. That's when people start to buy in, because now you've proven your consistency. You've proven that you actually are meaning what you're going to do, and you show up, man. That's what they see. They recognize you now. Now that you've gained their trust, you're not some flash in the pan that goes really hard for 2 or 3 months, not getting the traction, you quit. Because we see thousands of people like that. You and I probably have friends that we see that they're trying something new. They're getting in one of those MLMs and they're really pushing it, and then they disappear like a month later.
Yeah.
Because we're skeptics. We've seen that pattern happen so often that we're immediately skeptics anytime we see anybody try something new. When I said I was going to write this book, there's people laughed. They're like, hey, you know, who do you think you are, Tony Robbins? Like, no, it's like, I want Tony Robbins to come to my show one of these times.
For sure.
Someday I want him to come to my show because I will go to his.
Yeah.
I'll be the best version of me. I'm not worried about him. And it's like, I'm not a motivational speaker. I'm a business person. So I'm not a professional speaker. I'm a professional that speaks.
Okay.
So that's a little different that I like to take, you know. But you have to be able to just do what it's going to take, put in that work, and not worry about what other people are going to do and say, because you're going to gain that trust with them over time. And most people just don't. They quit too soon, is what it is.
One of the interviews I saw that you were talking about that exactly. In that, in fact, I was at the gym and I was listening to it in my headphones, and how people natural tendency is to say, "Oh, see, I told you."
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you do give up on that, you know, and they want to be right about something, so they're gonna sit back and watch you. I had a good friend of mine who told me recently, "I'm surprised you're still doing the show." We were on air for a year and a half on 1560 AM. We took a break and did something else, and then now we've been back on air on Facebook Live for 2 years. Over 2 years now. January was 2 years, and so I was kind of taken back by that.
It's like, have I not proved myself?
Yeah.
Like, I show up.
Yeah, all the time, and he was, and that just kind of told me what he thinks of me.
That's right.
You know, and we'll be great friends when we're talking about race car stuff, and he likes when I've promoted him and had him on or had his son on, but when to come back and say that just kind of, okay, so now it did give me a little bit more drive, like, okay, I'm not gonna. And it's funny, those kind of comments can come when you're doubting what you're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
And the timing could really hurt you,
Yeah.
or it could be the log that you throw in the fire.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I started the first company based on someone saying I couldn't do it or I should go do it better, and I was like, that's okay, challenge accepted.
That's what motivates.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, that's what motivates a lot of people to really turn it around and go harder. I want you to tell the story, because I think this is good, and this is for our car people. Tell us the story of the car crash when you were testing the. It was a pretty intense deal, and I went through a car crash in September 30th, where I broke my foot, and it was coming back from a race I was announcing in Kansas. So I related to it, and you were test driving a car for a performance shop, right?
Correct.
So go through this process and tell us a little bit about this situation.
So it was a late model Viper twin turbo car, about 1,000 at the wheel.
Okay.
And we were trying to be the first ones to get in the 9-second zone. Okay. So it had been, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago now. I can't remember the exact time it happened, but it was a good launch, and I knew I have a Viper that goes low 9s. Okay. So I'm very comfortable driving Vipers into the low 9s on a drag radial. Manual car, and the guy that they had driving it, he couldn't get out of like 1050s because he wasn't launching it hard enough. So we changed the tires to an actual slick, which hadn't been tested yet either. And we went, I launched pretty hard. I think I cut like a 1.4 or something. So I knew it was going to be on a number, and the run was going good. I got into third gear, and I could see the finish line coming across, and I got one more gear to go because I needed to get about 155 miles per hour is what that car should have ran, probably 152, 155. And I grabbed fourth gear, and the car started to feel a little bit loose, and then it felt like the wall was like, I was in the right lane and it started pulling me towards the wall, like something in the suspension was like maybe kicking the tire out. Independent rear suspension, right? Things go wrong. And so I tried to keep that car off that wall, and all of a sudden it's scraping the wall, and I was pissed at that point because I felt like I just damaged this person's car, and I was like, the car didn't get out of control, just kind of went over, like out of the groove. And so I started hitting the brakes, and it came off the wall, and then the car took a hard left because what happened is that rear wheel had broke, and on an independent rear car, it basically became like a forklift. Yeah, forklift. And so it went hard left, and my wheel's still straight, and I'm looking at this wall doing 130 miles per hour. And in that instant, I felt like I was going to die. And I was very calm. I was in panic mode before I hit the wall, trying to get it off the wall, and I was pissed. So I went from an emotion of like, I'm on a number, and like, oh shit, I can save this, and then I'm on the wall and I'm angry, then I'm looking at the wall, and I still remember muttering to myself, well, here I go. And I thought, this is it, because I'm looking at a fucking concrete wall, and I'm like, my mental calculations like, this is not going to be good, and this is going to be the sports car, approaching the wall at probably like a 60-degree angle. Wow. And then I just remember feeling really peaceful, and that was like milliseconds between seeing that and feeling that. And it felt like an eternity, like things slowed down, and I just remember being very calm, and I was really just weird. I just remember being calm, and I just remember right before hitting the wall, like just shutting my eyes, and then just boom, and they hit the wall, and the glass shattering, and all the airbags deploying, and cars sliding, and I didn't know if I was injured or not. I knew I was awake, and I could remember just like stay awake, and just get out of the car, and the car's still sliding at this time. And all I can remember just stay conscious, because I didn't want to be burned up in a fire. Yeah. And so as soon as the car came to a stop, I had to like pry the door open because it was, the fender had crushed into it. So I got out, and the car was just completely demolished, like the whole front of the car, and the wheels were hanging off and shit, and fluids all over the track, and I was still calm. Like I didn't have the adrenaline shakes. Yeah. I was just very calm in that moment. And then, friends from the starting line were like sprinted down the track, and they're all huffing and puffing. They get there, and I'm standing there with my helmet off, just looking at the car. Ambulance rolls up, and they inspect me in the back of the ambulance, and even my heart rate, everything about me was just very calm. It was just really weird. And she's like, you were just in a major accident. You're like the most calm person I've ever seen. And I was just like, I think I don't believe in the whole, brain dump, like flashing before my eyes, because I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I just remember being in that moment thinking like, well, here I go. I remember saying that, like, well, here I go. And then just being calm.
Wow.
And so that was really weird. And so that really made me start to value more time.
Yeah.
And that's really when the book started to come out. I was like, you know what? I think it was another 6 months after that. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of working at this company. I'm not happy doing this. It pays me really well. I feel like that's the money. The salary that you get paid is basically how much they give you to put your own dreams on the shelf is really the truth.
Yeah.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
They pay you just enough to tolerate their shit or your crappy boss, and you keep showing up, and you're basically putting your dream on the shelf and working on theirs. And that's the truth. It sounds like a real cool anecdotal type, phrase, but it's the truth. And I said, I need to do more, I have more value. I have more value to this world to give. And I think that was that impact was the turning point where I thought about, I need to do things that matter. I need to teach people, and it's like, how can I impact millions of people? I used to say thousands of people. I used to say, I want to impact thousands of people in a positive way. And now that I've seen the things and believing in myself more, it's like I speak in millions now. I want to impact millions of people and their generational legacy. The things that I could teach people on the coaching and reading this book have already changed people's lives. Thousands of people have bought this book, and I get feedback, and they're telling me, hey man, that book, you made me start my business, and I'm making 10 times more than I was at my last job, man. And they're telling me this stuff. I'm like, that's crazy.
That is amazing.
And they're like, I doubled my income in 3 months compared to my last job for a whole year.
It still has 5 stars on Amazon.
Yeah, it's 5 stars.
And it's almost a year now, right?
Yeah. And so what I'm doing is I'm not impacting that individual. I'm impacting their generational legacy. And when you start to think about how can I best impact millions of people, it's by getting to you, making you guys change your mindset around things and get rid of these self-limiting beliefs that you have about employment and income versus time and money, how they're not really related on a digital world especially. They're not related at all. And that's going to increase your lifestyle. It's going to increase your children's lifestyle. It's going to give them better education. It impacts your entire generation. That's the kind of pressure that you have as the sole provider of your family.
Yeah.
And most people just think it's about themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They think like self-help books is just for them. Self-help books, business books, degrees, any kind of knowledge you gain is not just for you. It's for everybody that's below you, that's coming. People may not even born yet.
Yeah.
That's when you got to think big.
Well, and I think if you dissect a little bit of the generations from, after the World War II, and people, the theory was get a job, get a house, live on your little cozy corner, and have a retirement. And people were retiring at 45 or 50 or 55 or whatever.
And pensions
and stuff. And now we've gone from that to get a degree.
Yeah.
And get a degree is the way to make, and get a good job and, make $100,000 a year. And these people are getting in, and we hear all the time about the student loan debt and all this stuff. And it's a real huge factor. And I deal with, I got a 20-year-old and a 22-year-old. And I was like, if school's just not your deal, figure out what you want to do in life. And, I understand if studying and math is not you just can't grasp that. It's hard to grasp. If that's not what you want to do and you don't want to become an engineer.
Yeah, my son's 19. I said the same thing. I never pressured him about going to school. I think that's your and I generation. We heard that if you didn't go to college, you're going to be a failure. You're going to be hanging on the back of the garbage truck, and they'd say stuff like that to you.
I pushed that when my kids were younger to go to get a degree and go to college. But I think it was building a dream of working harder, not just passing. And, because they were football players and all that stuff. And so it was building a dream a little bit. And then when that didn't pan out for them, now it's like, okay, teaching them, telling them, hey, you're going to have to learn a skill instead of just playing a video. Or if you're going to play a video game, film it. Go live, have people watch it.
Build your brand.
Build a brand, yeah. And I think that's where our generation has got to, social media is not going anywhere.
No.
The people are leaving certain platforms for other platforms, but I heard Gary did an interview about this that recently was posted yesterday or today about there's going to be a blip in the screen and with all the stuff with security and Facebook and all that, but I don't think it's not gonna go away.
No, there's always going to be something else.
Yeah.
I mean, always.
Yeah, I mean, look what you did well with, and the thing was forums. Everybody had a forum, whatever you wanted, and now it's a YouTube page or a Facebook page or all of them, and I think that we're in a weird time too with people getting kicked off of social media platforms for what they say, getting their bank accounts shut down is really weird thing that's happening now.
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, there's some.
Is it because they're doing like spy stuff or what?
No, it was because they're conservative comments.
Oh.
And there was a conservative person that got her Chase Bank said, we don't want to do business with you anymore.
Oh,
she
wow.
was able to get her money, but
Okay.
she had to go find another and change all of her online, all her credit or stuff went to that bank, so then she had to go change all that, which made it really difficult. And
Well, I'm big on freedom of speech.
Okay, good.
Definitely big on freedom of speech, but most people do not understand that there's always going to be some kind of repercussions for your freedom of speech. They think that freedom of speech keeps you from being impacted in a different way. It's not true with lawyers running around nowadays and government officials and your future bosses that are going to be looking at your social media. You have to think about every single thing you think about and what you say. You may believe that, but there's always going to be some repercussions, and you have to be man enough or woman enough to own up to those. And a lot of times people just say stupid things on social media, and then they get the punishment from that, and they're like, oh my God, the freedom of speech. It's like, you know what? If you walked into my front door and you stood in my house and you shouted all these profanities and said all these negative things, like, your freedom of speech doesn't apply in my house.
Yeah.
That's the way websites are. When we had LS1 Tech, people would be like, oh, you're censoring us. You're removing this stuff. It's like, this is my house. This is not the government.
Yeah.
This is privately owned. Facebook is privately owned. Like, you're in their house.
Yeah.
You can't shout whatever you want in their house. They have rules. You have to play by the rules. You may not like the rules, but go create your own.
I agree with you. And what was interesting, we talked about this last week on the show with Chuck Seitzinger and them going at each other, and Alex Laughlin going at each other on social media. And then it brought up the thing of about the Twitter or Jack Dorsey on Joe Rogan. Did you watch that interview?
No.
Okay. So it does get into that it is their house, right? But when their house leans one direction and it's very far left, and their policies.
Yeah.
So one of the things that they got into, and I'm not going to bore our fans are not as into this, but Tim Pool got on the Rogan show and told Jack Dorsey and his lawyer that they brought with them that one of their policies, not everybody, at least about over 50% of people in the United States don't believe in their policy about gender neutral pronouns and stuff, and that they don't see that as a real thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people, especially we're in Texas, and a lot of the people that we talk to outside the loop think that that's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
That, so Jordan Peterson's now world famous because he chose not to use those pronouns and does speech.
Yeah, he's the New York Times bestseller, and
and because he chose not, but he's a Canadian, and they don't. What people I think don't realize is that they don't have free speech in any other country. Freedom of speech is not in the Constitution in Canada. There is not a Constitution.
Yeah, freedom of speech just means you're not going to be arrested or put in jail for speaking against the government.
Yeah.
That's that simple.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to go against slander and libel and like making up stuff. And you saw that idiot that paid someone to beat his ass, and he's going to go get some felonies now. And like, your freedom of speech is very simple.
Well, it's the same thing as you can't yell fire in a crowded
That's it.
space.
If it causes some kind of damage, like you're responsible for the repercussions. And a lot of people think they could just say whatever they want anywhere they want, and that there's no downfall or that.
I think that's it. This gets into a point where people, even racers on social media, can get into arguments over stupid shit.
Yeah.
And then let's meet up. I'm gonna beat your ass type stuff. Instead of let's meet up and race for grand. it gets into, I'm going to kick your ass the next time I see you.
Yeah.
And
You know what? You know what really happens in those meetings? You hand the other guy a keyboard and tell him to talk shit,
yeah.
because you know they ain't gonna do it in person.
I know, right? Yeah, for sure. So, and I think that's where, the racing community tends to, I guess it's because the majority of racers are in our age group.
Mm-hmm.
Drag racers are typically in our age group.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why they're centralized on Facebook a lot now.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Snapchat. Or, they have that, but it's not where they
Well,
communicate.
it's taken over the social aspect of forums.
Yeah.
So it really, I mean, that's where we're all at.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they're, as adults that are getting into something new, social media is new for all of us. It's really only been big for what?
Since 2009.
Yeah, so I mean, for a lot of people, it's 10 years that they've been active on Facebook or whatnot, but for some people, it's only 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of people that were really late getting onto it.
Yeah.
And I admit I was on it, but it wasn't as involved as I have been in the last few years, and I think that's a lot of people, and so they're having to learn how to be socially involved, and I think a lot of people just don't know how to disagree without forcing their, and an argument on social media has never really changed anybody's mind until a person went, maybe I was wrong. And then they go, oh, well, maybe I was wrong about you too.
Yeah, it's like a bravado thing. They're just going to keep pumping their chest. And yeah, it's I mean, before Facebook, we were all doing on a yellow bullet,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
what was that Houston one, too? There was a Houston forum back then.
The Hot Rod Gossip.
Yeah, that one was just
Brutal.
non-stop shit talking.
Yeah. But it was also, you could buy and sell stuff on there, and you didn't have to register. And, you saw cool videos from local stuff that happened. I mean, Street Outlaws on their podcast, when they still had it, they talked about they got the idea for the top 10 list from Joe Golden's list.
Oh, no kidding.
On Hot Rod Gossip, which just tells you how much impact those guys have created a show that's going in its 12th season now.
Yeah.
Or is filming their 12th, or about to air their 12th, start filming their 13th season. And, it's just, and then spin-off shows, and guys have, Jerry and Daryl Bird are good friends, and they here they have a livelihood now because of these shows.
Well, I think it's the show, but it was also them being willing to put themselves out there and build their personal brand. That's very important. It's like you mentioned, like the Willis and the Jeep and things like that. These are guys that did things differently to stand out, and that's how you get the recognition nowadays, especially on social media. And if you're not willing to build your personal brand and put yourself out there, fade the critics, fade the haters, you're just a part of the herd. That's the spectator crowd.
Yeah.
Until you decide that you're going to do something different, whether that's your personality, how you dress, what you drive, whatever. Like, you got to do something different. You got to be truly outstanding, which literally means standing out from the crowd.
I can 100% relate. I wasn't an announcer at all. Had no desire to be an announcer. And we needed an announcer for Dig Night NRG. I don't know if you remember that race where we held it in the parking lot.
Yep.
And one of the guys that I knew couldn't make it, so I decided to do it. And having hosted done a radio show, I said, I can do this. I know I've been writing stories about all these racers. Got seen by 2.5 million people. My first event that I ever announced was filmed on Street Outlaws New Orleans, which you can still see on Motor Trend on Demand. I personally went, and as I started doing more of these and posting selfies or posting pictures of being at, because I got invited to do this race or got invited to do it. Here we are, and me and Jared held Lone Star Resurrection, paid $146,000 out in winnings in 2 days and lost our ass.
Yeah.
So just inadvertently building a brand to get more work, and then started the show, and saw Wes Buck doing a show regular on Drag Illustrated's page, and then decided, man, why don't we do a show? And that's kind of how why don't we kick the show back up, and with the people I know, we'll start interviewing, and that's typically what it is. And I like the long form stuff. So I'm glad you came out, and I appreciate you sitting down with us and
Yeah.
promoting your book. Guys, go to Amazon and check this out. It's a short. It's not a long read. It's big letters, which is good for me. See?
Yeah, I even wrote it in 8th grade vocabulary so everybody can understand it.
Oh, very cool. So there's not a lot of engineering.
That's for all my drag racing buddies.
Right?
How many pictures?
There's not a lot of engineering words in there.
No, not at
Many
all.
pictures.
No pop-ups,
No
no
pictures.
no color images. I actually wrote a lot of those chapters while I was drinking beer, so it's kind of a conversational book.
Oh, very
like
cool.
kind of like this, like we're talking and just talking about business. That's how I wrote the book.
Have you done the audio version yet?
I have, but it's an editing process now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Very cool. A
Yeah.
lot of people will consume books now through
Mm-hmm.
audio, and it'd be cool to hear. I mean, that you did the audio is
Mm-hmm.
pretty cool. So, tell me about that experience. Was it weird sitting down and going, summary chapter 1?
It
Is
is.
that how you read it?
It is, but I'll tell you that I started taking public speaking lessons about 18 months ago, and that really is what boosted the podcast that I have, and being able to get on the stage and sell the book and promote myself and be on the TV and the radio. And I mean, I was not the right person to carry the story, and I realized that, so I had to invest in myself to be able to speak like this. And you don't ever hear me saying and but and just mumbling my words. I've trained to get that away from myself and think about how I speak. So it's a skill that you actually applies to reading a book.
You talk about Toastmasters a lot, and,
Yeah.
and that's a cool deal because it got popular for a while, and then you haven't heard about it much, and it's really been critical in you forming your ability to be able to talk and do
Absolutely,
interviews.
it's actually changed my life. I would say that I'm a president of a club in the Woodlands area now, and I'd say that Toastmasters actually changed my life. It gave me a lot more communication skills, which gives you a lot more confidence to be able to go there. I mean, I used to get in front of a stage. Public speaking was actually kind of tough.
Yeah.
You know, and I've done I've done the announcing, things like that at events when I used to do the LS1s. It's not the same as a room that you're just trying to keep engaged, because at an event you're just announcing cars. People are engaged watching other stuff. They're watching the cars and looking at
You're doing
women
lane
and
calls.
drinking beer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's different when you got a whole bunch of room, but just everybody just staring at you, and you're trying to entertain them or educate them or inspire them. That actually takes a lot of skill. And you know, Chuck's known me a long time. And if you go back to like Instagram or Facebook and you're looking at my post probably June of 2017 and earlier, you never saw selfies of me. You never saw videos of me. I avoided the camera. My wife would take photos of us, but I just let her. That's how the women entertain themselves. They like wanted to take photos all the time. It's like, oh, that's cool. I'll be in a photo of her. But you never see me like post things about me. And it was always the cars I had, things I'm working on, things like that, but it was never me. And so I said, you know what, like I talked about, I love cars and I love business. I'm going to start talking about business and cars. And some people are like, oh, that's cool. You've had some successful businesses. We'd like to learn about that. And some people are like, oh man, just stick to cars. I only followed this because of your cars. And I was like, well, fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't create this because this is my social media. It's not yours. Like, I don't care what you think. Just leave.
Yeah.
And some of them did, and that's fine, because those are the kind of people that showed me who they truly were.
Yeah.
And at first that kind of hurt me, because I thought some of them were friends, like the racer pals, people I've known 10 years. But when people show you who they truly are, believe them. Believe them and be grateful that they showed you who they truly are, so you can get rid of them.
Yeah.
And that's the way I think of it now. Now people, I let them show me who they truly are. I just cut them out. Like, I don't have time for that. It's like, it kind of goes back to that accident when you start thinking value of your time. And we all have a finite amount of time left on this earth. I'm not going to spend a single second with somebody I know that's toxic or talking negatively about me or behind my back or trolling my feed. It's like, just get rid of those people in your life. They're not important. What they're doing is there's something wrong with them. It's not you. A lot of times we try to be likable. We want people to like us. We like to help people.
Well, it builds our ego when people like us.
Well,
in a
yeah,
way.
but we have this innate human desire to make sure people like us.
Yeah.
But the problem is not everybody's going to like you. And you have to understand that you can't please everybody. Jesus Christ had haters. They killed him.
Yeah.
You know, so he meant the best of intentions for the entire world. And he still had haters.
Yeah, for
See
sure.
what I mean? So if people like that at the highest levels, Mother Teresa has haters.
Yeah.
You know,
Speaking
so
of likes, y'all need to like and share this.
so it's basically get rid of those toxic people in your life. And here's the best way I'm going to share with your listeners. Here's the best way to assess the people in your circle. And it could be your best friends. Look at every one of the people in your life, whether it's family or friends, and ask yourself a real simple question. Does this person bring me energy, or does this person suck away energy? That's a yes or no question. There's no maybe people in that question.
Yeah.
It's a yes or no question. And when you start to see the people that are sucking energy, or you don't really want to see them and you got to like appease them, and they're taking energy from you. They're basically like, oh shit, here he comes again, or those kind of people. They're talking negatively about you, and you know
Or they're
that.
clapping when you lose.
Exactly. Like, ask yourself about every single person in your life, and if they're like that, get rid of those people. Sooner the better.
Dude, that's amazing. I really don't know what to say after that. You pretty much knocked it out of the park. But I do want to say I really appreciate you coming out here. I know it's a long drive. I think what you've done is amazing. I'm honored that you were willing to come out here and do this little show, and in this shabby garage and stuff. But I kind of feel like you got you back to where you came from a little bit.
Man.
You have your own shop and stuff, and it's really cool what you've done with your personal cars and your getting on Super Chevy magazine, and what you've done in your personal life and writing a book. And what do you think the next goal is? Is it going to be more paid public speaking type stuff? Or?
I will do some more public speaking classes. I'm building a entrepreneurs group. So 365 Driven is my brand. It's actually on the back of that book. And I'm building an entrepreneurs hub network, so people who are business owners can join that for free and learn how to do business the proper way, learn how to do the social media marketing, learn how to build their personal brand. And if they want some more one-on-one stuff, I'm building some online courses for them to learn. And then if they want even more than that, we can work one-on-one. I have about 6 clients right now paying me a good money to teach them one-on-one to get them to the highest level. And I'm helping people start and scale and sell their companies. So it's kind of a big thing. So that's what I'm building. I wanted to have this online hub of the network for entrepreneurs to go to, because I got tired of seeing that people had to go pay 1,000 of this person, 1,000 of this person, and buy all these programs and all this stuff. And it's like a la carte. It's like, why aren't these people all in one community, one network, where I can maybe buy some kind of credits? I can learn from this person that week, this one this week. I only need a little piece of this person for this subject instead of buying a whole course. Like, why can't I learn this one thing, like video course?
Yeah.
See what I mean? So that's my goal for
like
building
a subscription type deal?
Yeah, and I want the community. I want to be able to say, like, hey, I'm 365 Driven. It's a mantra that I've created. I wanted to say, hey, you know what? I'm flying to Atlanta next week. What other 365 Driven members in here? Let's get together and collaborate. Let's have some business conversation and just have that network. It'll be like the car guys talking about cars. Well, I want business owners talking about business, because let's face it, if you're a business owner or a car guy, nothing we hate worse than small talk at the dinner table.
Yeah.
You're talking about kids soccer and band, and like, Janie's angry about her boy. Like, oh, just shoot me in the head.
Yeah.
Like, I want to talk about cars or business. So I'm building the community to build that business community.
Okay, very cool. That's cool, because I know that it can be a little mind-boggling is not the word I want to use, but it can be a little daunting. Of like, okay, I want to learn some stuff, but everywhere I go, they're trying to charge me a grand.
Yeah.
That seems to be the going rate for buying into somebody's
Programs
or whatever, which may be great programs if that's,
if it's what you need at the
if
ROI.
you're gonna be a drop shipper or
Yeah,
whatever.
if it's what you need at the moment that you need it, it's worth that investment, because it's all about the ROI. So if you spend $1,000 and you can make $100,000 from that information, man, that's a great return. You got to bet on yourself. I think a lot of times people fixate on cost, not the return. Because we're not buying a consumable. You're buying knowledge that you're going to carry with you, whatever business or whatever endeavor you get into. So, it definitely has some knowledge, and actually do your due diligence. Learn from people that have done what you want to achieve. So, there's a lot of fly-by-night bullshit artists out there that haven't done anything. A lot of times, the most successful business they had is the coaching business that you bought the $1,000 program from. So, go find up the Google machine, do some Google searching, see if they have actually done things, see if they're living that lifestyle that you've actually want for yourself.
No, not just renting the lifestyle.
Yeah, just be a skeptic. And we talked about highlight reels earlier. Yeah, I would say that 90% of the ones that you see on social media are a highlight reel of somebody's life. But the fact is, I know people that live that highlight reel life, and I think I kind of live that highlight reel life myself. And it's not that I'm being, fake. It's like, that's what we do. And that's because I created that.
Yeah.
So you can create that. Don't think it's always fake.
So tell us about your podcast, when it is, how often it airs.
So I do 2 episodes a week. It's called 365 Driven.
Okay.
It's on iTunes, Google, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, all the main hubs. And it's an
Is it audio
entrepreneur.
only?
It's audio only.
Okay.
I do have a YouTube channel, but haven't converted the videos over yet. That's a step. I'm doing everything myself right now. I just actually hired somebody to do the editing for the podcast finally.
Okay.
To kind of take that off my plate to more focus on something else. You know, it's a labor of love, but it's an entrepreneurship focused podcast, and I interview a different guest every week. But we don't just speak about business, because I'm very big on mindset, health, and relationships with your friends or your loved ones or your family or your wife or spouse. So I wanted everybody to have a good balance. I don't believe in being financially successful but being out of shape.
Yeah.
We know a lot of people that are super buff but they're broke as hell. So it's like there's got to be a good balance that gets back to the fulfillment. And I think that's the best way to be happy, is those 4 cornerstones of success, health, wealth, mindset, and these relationships. So I bring in influencers and thought leaders in each of those subjects and trying to mix it up, because I want people to gain a little bit of insight from different people who have achieved at a very high level in different regards.
So are they typically on local that are coming in, or?
No, it's all, we do everything online. So
Online.
yeah, very few people in Houston. I've got guests from all over the world, Australia,
Oh, wow.
Europe. Yeah, very few in Houston, actually, maybe 2
Oh,
out
gotcha.
of 40 episodes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So again, it's 365.
365 Driven, and my website, if you're listening or watching this, is 365driven.com, and you'll find links to the book, podcast, and if you want to work with me one-on-one coaching, I got a lot of background in automotive and oil and gas and restaurants, you name it. But I'm here to help you guys out.
So let's do this for the last couple of minutes and see if we can get a couple of questions from people watching. If y'all have a question, type it in the comments, and then we'll review it. Some people saying that was a pretty cool story about the Viper. Jorge Ramos saying that was a heck of a story with the Viper. Really recommend Tony's books. Lots of good info on it. Eric Dupree said communication. Gordon Smith, good friend of the show. I know Chuck. Talking back and forth with Chuck. So, like I said, put any questions you have. Let's see who else is watching. What's up, Timmy Stubbs? Tammy Burks says hi. Congratulations to Daniel Burks. Did a lot of good with his love truck. Runner-up on Friday night at Bounty Hunter, and then the rain came, so they didn't get to run the finals. And
It wasn't my fault. I didn't bring the Camaro.
Oh yeah,
back.
right. You didn't bring the Camaro. But then he won the small tire beyond 1320. Have you seen what they're doing now? And they started this in Arizona, and now Matt Plotkin and Alamo City Raceway are doing it, where they go on past the quarter mile. We've done it with Dig Night. We go out at Dig Night at Houston Raceway. We go past the
Like a roll
60
race,
foot-
or
no,
what
no.
is this?
No, you go
Go
out.
out sand traps and race the other way.
No, you don't race the other way. At San Antonio, they go to the quarter mile,
Like the finish line?
or go out past the transition, and you VHT burnout and
Okay.
drag race.
So it's like a no prep at the drag race?
Well, no prep is typically at the starting line. This is even worse. You get out in the asphalt,
Okay.
where it's really hard to get traction in the asphalt area, where the conversion is,
Shut down
is
lane,
to,
yeah.
is to like at Royal Purple, or not Royal Purple, Houston Raceway, which used to be Royal Purple. When you get past the transition, they do the burnout on the concrete and then roll up into the asphalt and then
Okay.
drag race towards the finish line. They've done it at Evadale, done it at San
Is it
Antonio.
8th mile, I hope?
Yeah, it's all
Okay.
it's 8th mile.
So that's a little sketch if you're like going through the traps backwards.
Yeah. So it's 8th mile, and it's just a harder core no prep
Yeah.
that that is
'Cause
on that.
people were figuring it out too much. They had to make it a little harder.
Well, the starting line will get very sticky
Yeah.
after a lot of big tire cars go down there. So then at the end of the night, they'll shut everything down at the starting line. Everybody drives down in stages on the drag strip, and then goes from either the quarter mile or the 330 mark or whatever,
Cool.
and goes where there's no rubber, because it's
Cool.
always sketchier down there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun because it levels the playing field even more. And you got a guy like Daniel Burks with a love truck, a true street truck, and single turbo deal, and it's like on the street. Tammy's saying. So Elvis Collins, very nice show. I appreciate it. Elvis Collins does a lot of good stuff out at HMP with Index Racing.
I think he just won last weekend, didn't he?
Hey Elvis, did you win last weekend? I think Chuck's saying he did. Congratulations. He puts on some cool index stuff where after every round or so they change what the tree's going to be, whether it's going to be Pro Tree or Instant Green or 5/10 or whatever. So it makes everybody
A little random factor.
Yeah. So, Jorge saying, love the love truck, moves out quick. What's better, automatics or manuals, and why? Jeff Owens
Chuck trying to start some fires in here.
I know, right? So he said you're a standard transmission guy.
Yeah, I'm a manual driver. I know that's not the fastest it would, especially in 8th mile and these small tire events and things like that. But to me, I've always just tried to beat my own records.
Yeah.
And it was always fun to do the bracket race. And back when I was manual racing, it was like a mid 10-second car, NA, that formula.
Yeah.
And I was in the sportsman class, and I was 20 cars deep, the only manual, but I was winning them.
Oh, I ran a 5-speed in mod motor. And so Gordon Smith has a question. But what I was going to say before we read Gordon's question is the first time you go a 120 60-foot leaving on just letting go of a button,
It's
it kind of
wiggly.
it's like, oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gordon Smith, I'm feeling stuck in where I'm at in my work life. I've always wanted to do something on my own, but I'm feeling that I'm lacking drive and creativity.
And this guy takes amazing sunset and sunrise photos.
Gordon.
Out on wherever he lives, out by the bay somewhere.
He's
He always
in
posts
the
that on
Baytown area.
Facebook.
He says, what am I missing?
So Gordon, if you're stuck, you gotta just really think about what your purpose is. Like, what is it that you wanted to do in this world? And we talked about money's not a good purpose. What does it impact you want to change? Is it for your family? Is it for yourself? Do you feel a drive to just be better, or do you feel like you're in this rut that's like a routine that most people are stuck in? And just really have these hard questions for yourself, because a lot of times complacency comes when we're at a comfortable income level. We get, like I said, we get paid to put our dreams on the shelf because that's what jobs are. And just think about the things that you can do to challenge yourself, and whether that's like, whatever you know and whatever you've done has gotten to where you are today, but it's not going to get you where you're going. So you have to have that craving of wanting to improve yourself, because let's face it, you can't give or gain anything until you have an abundance and be willing to change yourself and ask yourself those hard questions. A lot of times people are not comfortable. Like me, public speaking was not comfortable.
Yeah.
But I realized my goals are on the other side of that. What do I need to do with that? Well, get lessons, practice, do videos. Like taking selfies and doing live videos was not comfortable. But what I wanted to accomplish, I need to do that. It's not comfortable. Let me get better at that. Let me find people to give me advice to help me with that. So I now I crave this discomfort. I look for things that cause me fear, anxiety, or discomfort, and I don't just try to run away like most people. I really think about, why is this making me feel this way? Okay, now that I know that that's why, like, what can I do to overcome that? What can I do to be a better person or get more skill to overcome this? So now I'm always constantly challenging myself to do more. And I think with your business ideas, don't think that you got to reinvent things. Don't think you got to be creative. Don't think you got to create a Facebook or some shot glass that looks like a dragster.
Yeah.
Don't think you got to be creative. Look at problems that exist. Look at things that are out there that you deal with on an everyday basis that you could do better. Like if something's annoying, like maybe this plastic bottle annoys you, and you're like, man, I wish I had a better idea for making this a better bottle. So there's a lot of problems out there, and the bigger problem you solve, the more money you're going to make. That's the simple fact.
Very cool. Very good advice. I kind of relate. I understand where Gordon's coming from, and I've done a little bit of stand-up recently, and I thought, I'm going to kill this because I can get up and make 20,000 people laugh with a microphone when I'm announcing. And then you get up and people are expecting you to make them laugh, and then it's a whole different world. And it kind of is.
It's public speaking.
It is. And I can relate to, I think that I would like to try and start looking at the Toastmasters around here and just pushing myself a little bit harder instead of being, just comfortable doing what I feel like I'm halfway good at, doing the show or whatever, or just maybe growing this to really make it
Yeah.
a viable source, you know, and making it bigger and getting back that dream. Sometimes you just got to take that dream you had and get back focused on it. And life, you know, my dad passed away. We were dealing with the funeral, dealing with my foot after the car accident and stuff. And I brought up a few weeks ago that I was going through some depression with all this, and my mom was in the hospital last year, and for 3 months, and you know, it really makes you reevaluate why you're doing stuff, and then you know you have a lot of life changes happen to you, and you gotta, I think too, start, and I've got to get better about this, but start putting stuff down on paper. And that makes you creative, because instead of it all just rolling around up here, and then you get kind of lost in too much. It's kind of like there's so much stuff on the internet now that it's too much. But sometimes you get too much in here, and my mom is the best about that, and she's always so good about it. And I'm so resistant to sit down and start putting out all your bills on paper, put all your stress on paper, but she's always coming back, reminding me, just start putting it down. When you put it down, it doesn't seem so big and so overwhelming.
There was actually I was listening to a podcast of John Paul Zajoria. He's the founder of Paul Mitchell Hair Products and Patron, tequila, and he had a real simple tactic that he shared. He's like, if there's anything that's keeping you up at night, write it down on a Post-it note and stick it to the mirror in your bathroom. He goes, that way you can go to bed, and when you get up in the morning, it'll still be there for you.
Wow. That way your mind will shut it off.
Shuts it off. You just write it down, exactly what you're saying. Get it out of your brain so you don't have to remember it. Understand it's not going to go there until you solve it. Stick it on your damn bathroom mirror and go to bed. And when you wake up, you can resume.
Yeah.
See, that's powerful stuff. Just simple things that he did. And he's a billionaire.
Yeah, for sure.
And he still does it.
He
still does it. So it's sometimes all the negativity and the things that are going bad in your life require something you to have that focus on. And I can tell you, when I started LS1 Tech, it was actually one of the lowest points of my life.
Okay, tell me
and
about
one of the times people talk about is, hey, you know, I don't have time, I don't have money. They blame their kids or their spouse for the things that they can't do, and that's terrible. Like, if you're doing that, that's real shitty. Like, that's on you. It's just take accountability for not making your priorities right. But the year was 2000. My son was born in 2000. I was in a terrible relationship with his mom. We didn't get along. I was with her most of her pregnancy, and we lived together for about a year when he was born. We never got married.
Okay.
But it was just a really toxic, terrible relationship. She did not support. When I told her that I was going to build a website, she laughed at me. She said, you know, guys talking about cars on the internet is stupid. So
Here we are.
So I kind of knew that this wasn't going to go anywhere, and she didn't support anything I was doing. So we split up. I was already coming off of a 6-month unemployment because of the downturn at that time in the oil industry. So I'd maxed out 2 credit cards, living off of credit cards. So I think it was about $40,000 in debt, and terrible relationship. I was depressed because that was the first time in my life I felt like I was out of control and things weren't going well for me. You know, I had the degree already, but I didn't have a job, so I was waiting tables. And finally I did get a job, and I was still in the severe debt. We're split up. I was paying for her apartment, my apartment, car notes, child support. You can imagine, like, this shit sounds familiar probably to a lot of people listening right now. And I had to focus on something positive to get my head out of that funk. And so that became LS1 Tech. That's the positive thing, that I can dig my way out of this shit. So while I was working 3 jobs, I had an engineering job by then, and I was waiting tables, and I was doing the MTI and the car things on the weekends as well. So I was working 3 jobs, building a company with a newborn baby, paying child support, 2 apartments, 2 car notes. So I don't like people telling me, like, I don't have time for this.
Wow.
I got kids. I don't have time because I'm working 1 job. Oh, boo-hoo. Boo fucking who?
Yeah.
Like, sack up, think about something positive to put your energy towards, and do what it takes. That's what it is.
I think, too, a lot of times just getting off your ass and getting out of the house.
That changing the scenery is huge.
Yeah.
Just get out of your routine, man.
Yeah.
Just, you know what? A lot of times I feel like centered when I just go walk out like in nature. If I'm in the woodlands. I got trees everywhere. If I just go walk
Yeah. I
and
tell
just
you,
get out of the damn house.
what I noticed last year when I was the busiest is when I was promoting more and working my brand more and traveling and announcing for Carcraft Magazine or Street Outlaws or wherever I was doing. And then when I broke my foot, I was very limited.
Yeah.
So then I'm stuck in the house. And once I was able to start getting out again, and I actually went and before I was approved, bought a post-op surgery boot to get out of the full knee-high boot, so I could drive my truck, so I could get myself around places.
Yeah.
And that was a tremendous thing. And it's just like I lost 80 pounds in the last 2 years. It took 3 months before I really started seeing it. And now I still run into people that are like, dude, your face looks different. You're still kept off. People Sunday were like, are you losing weight again? And I'm like, I guess I did probably put a little bit on when I had the surgery, surgery and all that stuff. And now I'm getting back out active again. And when you're out doing stuff, good things tend to happen. More stuff tends to happen that'll change it'll get your wheels moving and get you more creative. And if it takes walking your dog, or you don't have to go to the gym. I started riding a bike, and you know how creative it was when I would get up in the morning and ride for 4 miles.
You're like thinking the whole time of things,
or listening to a podcast or something. But that just getting out and making that 4-mile trek.
Yeah.
And getting some, and then going and cooking breakfast, and then man, you're just when you get up at 10, it's hard to. You feel like you've already screwed off too much of the day, and
that's a mental hack that I would recommend for everybody. I love music, but I don't listen to it anymore.
I don't either.
I listen to audiobooks and podcasts. That's it. So anytime I have time to put a pair of earphones in, I'm learning something, and that's powerful because I'll finish about 60 books a year.
Yeah.
And you got to realize there's a lot of thought leaders and experts and authorities out there who've written some really good books. And if I can read a book a week based on, because most audiobooks are like 6 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, you could do that just commuting. You could do that at the gym. You could do that while you're sitting at lunch or dinner. In time you're by yourself, and you could put earphones in. You can even, some people have jobs they can just listen to earphones.
Yeah.
You should be learning things instead of wasting that time with music.
The book, The Case Against Sugar, changed my life as far as my weight, and made me really. And I heard about the book on a Joe Rogan podcast because he interviewed the author.
Yeah.
So
how the reading labels is huge. Most people don't do that. With all the marketing out there with food, especially, is just misleading.
It is, and there's sugar in everything.
Oh,
when you start realizing that the sugar industry is bigger than big tobacco, it's almost as big as big pharma, and it's been around a lot longer. And then like just cutting down on it, like I was drinking 5 sweet teas, thinking, well, at least I'm not drinking soda, and not realizing there was more sugar in that than the sodas that I was thinking I was not drinking. And quit putting sugar in my coffee. Like I'm getting it from every source,
everywhere.
If I can at least where I can quit putting it in and then read the labels and trying to not eat it if it was over 12 grams or whatever. I think dude, craziest thing was when I started getting off sugar, the veins came back in my forearms, and I was like, they haven't gotten any bigger. That tells you how much
all the fat layer you got. Just your skin gets real thick,
or the water, or whatever it is. It was just the strangest thing, and now I don't want to eat all that crap.
No.
And I feel better, and when I'm eating cleaner, I get more done. And I feel
more energy. Yeah. You're less foggy brained.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy. It's sad what they're doing to us.
I mean, we got guys out there, running expensive race gas in their engines, but they'll stuff their face full of Burger King.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it is.
It's the same analogy.
It is ironic.
You wouldn't put 93 octane in your race car.
Yeah, for sure. I would put E85 in my wagon though. So, but hey, man, I really appreciate coming off. This has been a great show. I really, really enjoy when we get time to really get into the depth of things like this, and I really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully get you back on and you know, in the future, and see where you go from here, and what your next big move is. So.
Cool, man.
And what's the next, real quick, what's the next big thing car-wise you want to do?
Oh man, I'm launching a manufacturing startup right now for carbon fiber composite wheels. So that's hopefully something we'll scale to 8 figures and sell sometime.
Nice.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of power tour stuff. Chuck and I have
Yeah.
talked about that when he's been on. And
Yeah.
have you ever done drag week? You want to do
No,
drag
no, I
week?
haven't. I, honestly, as much as I love racing, I used to be a diehard drag racer, and I got into more road racing, and I love that. I actually liked it more because of the adrenaline rush.
Okay.
You know, 9 seconds versus 30 minutes of adrenaline is like, it's hard to compete against.
Yeah.
And I just put it off on, like, the last 2 years. I kind of shelved it while I focused on my businesses, because there again, I want to make sure my priorities aligned. Things I love to do, cars and these events, and man, I'm more focused on business right now because I want to make real money to be able to afford the car stuff again.
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand. A guy's making $800 grand from side business wants to make real money.
So,
That's cool. Well, hey man, we really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Y'all like and share this. Go like. Tim put a link up there for the 365. What was it?
365 driven.
Driven. Yeah. I knew that because I looked it up earlier.
With all the bucks and everything like that, and all the links to his website. So I told everybody. We'll do
Very
that.
cool.
Cool.
Well, hey man, I really appreciate it, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll be back next Tuesday at 7. Blake Anderman's a great show, good conversation. Thanks, dude.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
All right, man. We'll see y'all later.